The Detroit Lions organization just entered the most difficult offseason in recent memory, and the decision they're facing at the most important position on the field could define the next 3 years of this franchise. Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report, where I bring you the most comprehensive, honest, and exclusive analysis of everything happening with our beloved Detroit Lions. I'm your dedicated source for breaking news, strategic insights, and the hard conversations that Lions Nation needs to have right now. Today, I need to walk you through a situation that's keeping the entire organization awake at night, a quarterback dilemma that has no easy answers, and a financial puzzle that makes moving forward incredibly complicated. Before I dive into the specifics of what's actually happening inside Allen Park right now, I need you to understand how we got to this critical crossroads. The Christmas Day loss to Minnesota wasn't just another defeat. It was the end of playoff dreams and the beginning of serious organizational soul-searching. Watching that game felt like seeing everything we'd built over the past few years crumble in real time, and the performance under center left every Lions fan wondering the same thing. Can we really win championships with what we have? I've been covering this team through the rebuild, through the Dan Campbell transformation, through the moments that made us believe this was finally our time. And I'm going to be completely transparent with you about where we stand right now because you deserve honesty, not sugar-coated narratives that ignore reality. The situation we're facing at quarterback is complex, it's frustrating, and it's going to require patience and strategic thinking to navigate properly. Let me start by laying out exactly what happened in that Vikings game because the numbers tell a story that's impossible to ignore. Our quarterback completed 18 of 29 passes for 197 yards, which sounds mediocre, but becomes truly concerning when you add in the turnovers. 1 touchdown against 2 interceptions, 3 lost fumbles, a passer rating of 64.9. 5 total giveaways in a must-win game that ended our season. These aren't just statistics. They're evidence of a pattern that's emerging at the worst possible time. Dan Campbell didn't mince words after the game when he told reporters that you can't turn the ball over 6 times and expect to win in this league. That statement wasn't directed at the entire team. It was a message aimed squarely at the player responsible for 5 of those turnovers. When your head coach, who's known for being one of the most supportive leaders in football, makes that kind of pointed comment publicly, you know the frustration level inside the building has reached a breaking point. But here's where the situation becomes truly complicated, and this is what I need every Lions fan to really understand. We're not just dealing with a performance issue, we're dealing with a financial and strategic puzzle that has no obvious solution. Moving on from a quarterback isn't like trading away a running back or releasing a linebacker. The salary cap implications alone can cripple a franchise for years if handled incorrectly. The contract situation is absolutely brutal from a flexibility standpoint. If the Lions wanted to cut their quarterback outright with a post-June 1st designation, they'd be looking at $69.6 million in dead money with 0 salary cap savings. Let me repeat that because it's staggering. Almost $70 million in dead cap hit for a player no longer on the roster. That's not a realistic option unless the organization wants to completely handicap its ability to build a competitive team for the next several seasons. A trade becomes the more logical pathway when you're dealing with these kinds of numbers, but that comes with its own set of complications. A post-June 1st trade would open up $55 million in cap savings while taking on a $14.6 million dead cap hit. That's far more manageable than an outright release, but it requires finding another team willing to take on the remaining years of a very expensive contract for a quarterback who just had one of the worst playoff elimination performances in recent memory. Here's the reality that keeps Brad Holmes up at night. Which teams are actually in the market for an expensive quarterback coming off back-to-back playoff disappointments? We're not talking about a 25-year-old ascending talent. We're talking about a 31-year-old veteran with a 4-5 career playoff record who's shown a tendency to disappear when the stakes are highest. The pool of interested teams shrinks dramatically when you factor in those realities. Let me walk you through the alternatives because understanding what else is out there makes this decision even more complicated. The upcoming free agent quarterback class is filled with names that don't exactly inspire confidence for long-term solutions. Aaron Rodgers will be 42 years old and coming off another injury-plagued season. Joe Flacco is a journeyman at this point in his career. Russell Wilson showed flashes, but isn't the player he was 5 years ago. None of these options represent clear upgrades. They're all temporary stopgaps at best. The draft class doesn't offer immediate salvation either. The 2026 draft is projected to be relatively weak at quarterback compared to previous years, and banking on finding a franchise signal caller who can contribute immediately is a massive gamble. We've seen too many teams reach for quarterbacks in weak draft classes and set their franchises back years. That's not a risk the Lions should be taking when we're this close to sustained success. Trading for an established quarterback from another team is the third option, but that comes with its own question marks. Which proven quarterback is actually available? And more importantly, would they fit into our offensive system and culture better than what we already have? There's no guarantee that bringing in someone new solves our problems, and there's legitimate risk that it makes things worse by disrupting the chemistry we've built. This is where I need to level with Lions Nation about something that might be hard to hear, but needs to be said. Despite everything that happened in that Vikings game, despite the turnovers and the disappointment, the most likely scenario is that we're running it back next season with the same quarterback under center. I know that's not what a lot of you want to hear, and I understand the frustration completely. But when you analyze the financial constraints, the lack of clear alternatives, and the overall body of work, keeping what we have makes the most sense. Let me explain why I'm not actually as pessimistic about that outcome as you might think. Outside of Week 17 and some previous playoff struggles, our quarterback has actually performed at a high level during his time in Detroit. He's built genuine chemistry with our offensive weapons. He understands the system thoroughly, he's respected in the locker room, and, most importantly, he's proven he can win games at a high rate during the regular season. The issue isn't that we have a bad quarterback. The issue is that we need to put him in better positions to succeed when the pressure ramps up. That means Brad Holmes has serious work to do this offseason, improving the offensive line. The pass protection broke down repeatedly in critical moments, and that contributed significantly to those fumbles and rushed throws. You can't expect any quarterback to perform at their best when they're constantly under pressure and getting hit. Think about what an upgraded offensive line would mean for our entire offense. More time in the pocket leads to better decision-making. Better protection leads to fewer sacks and fumbles. A stronger run-blocking unit takes pressure off the passing game entirely. These improvements would benefit every aspect of our offensive attack while specifically addressing the issues that plagued us in the biggest games. I also believe strongly that this early offseason, as painful as it is, might be exactly what's needed for a reset. Instead of riding the emotional roller coaster of playoff games and potential Super Bowl runs, there's time to step back, analyze what went wrong, work on fundamentals, and come back hungrier and more focused. Some players need that kind of adversity to reach their full potential, and I'm optimistic that's what we're going to see. The alternative pathway that concerns me is if we make a rash decision based on one horrible game and end up setting this franchise back several years. I've watched too many teams panic trade or release their quarterback only to realize they had no viable plan for replacing that production. Then they spend the next 3 to 5 years cycling through options and watching their championship window slam shut. That cannot be what happens in Detroit. Here's my honest assessment after analyzing every angle of this situation. The Lions are stuck between a rock and a hard place, but that doesn't mean we're doomed. Yes, the quarterback position needs to perform better in critical moments. Yes, changes need to be made to the supporting cast, but completely blowing up what we built isn't the answer. Smart, strategic improvements around the edges while maintaining our core gives us the best chance at sustained success. The offseason blueprint should be crystal clear for Brad Holmes. Upgrade the offensive line through free agency and the draft, add depth at key positions, and create an environment where our quarterback has every possible advantage when we reach those pressure-packed playoff moments. Do that, and I genuinely believe we'll see a different result next season. I need to hear from you in the comments right now. Do you think the Lions should explore every possible avenue to move on from Goff this offseason? Or do you believe running it back with significant roster improvements gives us the best chance? Are you willing to be patient with this process, or has your confidence been shaken beyond repair? What specific moves should Brad Holmes prioritize this offseason? Your perspective matters, and I read every single comment, so let me know exactly where you stand. If you want to stay ahead of every development this offseason, if you want analysis that goes deeper than surface-level hot takes, make sure you're subscribed to Lions News Fan Report. Hit that notification bell because things are going to move fast in the coming months, and I'll be here breaking down every decision, every signing, every strategic move, the moment it happens. We're going to get through this together, Lions Nation. Our time is coming, and I believe this team is closer to championship contention than the disappointment of one game suggests. Let's keep building, let's keep believing, and let's show the entire league what Detroit football is all about.